Yeah, okay. I guess then everyone is here. I'll open the group chat so that I don't miss stuff like last time. So on DevSync, I need some help from, I guess, Bartek, because I have some issues with the chain, the way the, the objects are now built. So I'm trying to fix that, and I think you saw my messages in CoreDev.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
But yeah, basically, I need some help on that.
Okay,
And
you could probably ping Andre as well.
okay, yeah, I never know who I'm supposed to really ping
Yeah,
on that.
I think Andre's probably the one that worked with that most closely. I mean, of course, Bartek can answer the questions too, but it might be better for Andre.
Yeah, okay. And then apart from that, I also started to work on the whole basically the recurrent payments. I have the add that's pretty much done. I need to add a new recurrent payment. I need to add the remove and all the APIs. So that work is well underway. But I feel like we'll have some discussions when I'm done on how we want to actually store the payments, because it involves adding some new timers, and I don't know how much we want to like weight the blockchain with stuff like this.
Yeah, we should definitely be careful with that stuff. So
Yeah, exactly. That's why I guess I'll probably push what I have midway so that we can have like a
yeah,
quick
maybe
review.
file an issue too that just describes the algorithm or something, so that we can look it over.
Yeah, okay. And yeah, that's about it for me. Oh yeah, also I did
Okay.
the I went through the documentation and I found a bunch of issues so that we could like sync on that. But yeah,
Okay.
that's about it.
Okay. Do you want to do that after we do the review of the week,
Yeah, sure.
or okay? So let's see. As far as what we've been working on, well, we, I guess the probably most important thing is we identified some bugs in the mutex locking in Hive D that have been there for a couple years. And these mainly impacted any API serving nodes, especially when they got under load. Effectively, there was no real mutex locking that worked well at all. I mean, it was basically almost not there. Um, and this could lead to a bunch of different issues. I mean, one, it was a big performance problem, but it also could lead to like corruption and things like that under a high load condition. I think what happened, the reason we never really, I think this wasn't exposed in the past is most people didn't run API servers first of all, and then Steam. So Steemit was the big API server runner, and I think they over provisioned their Hive mines a lot, or their Hive Ds rather, so that they didn't actually get to the condition where these problems cropped up. So we were much more conservative in our Hive Ds on our API server, and that's so we saw them under heavy load, and we saw these kind of problems arising. So we re-implemented the mutex locking for the API calls and for the writes of the blocks and the and basically the updates to the chain-based database. So that now we're able to. We did a pretty strenuous testing with that. We ran it on a 48 core machine, and we were able to get all 48 cores running at 100%. So it's the locking is pretty efficient. It's not really using up. It's not really. It's able to use all the cores effectively, which is good. And we didn't find any problems in all that testing. We ran that, I guess, at least 24 hours without any kind of issues before we deployed it anywhere. And that's the current version. Everybody who's updated anytime recently on their Hive D is running that. Again, that only is mainly an issue for someone running an API server. For consensus nodes. 1.24.2 is still just fine. Um, we also made another change of significance to Hive D, which is the get account history. Um, we did some improvements there, and in particular, uh, in addition to just speeding up the regular get account history, we also added a filtering option, which for most apps they don't really care about all the operations in operation history. So by filtering, using a filtering mask, they can just get the operations they want, which is beneficial to both to Hive D itself because it puts less loading on it, and also beneficial to them because they don't get a bunch of data they don't need, and they can run more efficiently as well. So that's probably the main things we've done in Hive D so far. We also identified one more issue while we were in there looking at the mutex locking, which was that there's some very inefficient mutex locking around the whole get block API. This is the API calls for basically getting blocks from Hive, and to solve that, we're effectively going to be able to get rid of all the locking. So we should get a real big performance improvement there. It looked to me like in the past, you effectively were only going to be able to use one core to return blocks, and now you should be able to get, I think, assuming your IO system's fast enough, you could basically get blocks with all the cores you had. So you're probably the ultimate bottleneck now could just be your IO system, and depending on where you're fetching blocks from, of course. If you're fetching them from near term, then you could still it'll be in memory and it'll be quite fast. So that change is probably going to be in the next day or two. We're doing preliminary testing on that now as we speak. Let's see. So that's pretty much it for Hive work that I can think of off the top of my head. Most of the team's been working on HiveMind still. So there's a couple things going on in HiveMind. We've been doing performance improvements. We're still not done, unfortunately, with those. We've got a few more left that we need to do. The ones we're working on most immediately are to speed up Hive server calls. So basically the query response times. And notifications, we had some speed ups, but then when we made another change, we had a regression. So gotta fix that again. That's hopefully going to be done in a day or so. We've speeded up get rank posts and a bunch of those types of calls. And then other things left on HiveMind at this point. We fixed I guess another thing we fixed was the comment counts. That's been an issue for a while. That's fixed. Comment counts for posts. And then let's see what else. So the muting is still being worked on. That's being worked on again as we speak. So hopefully we'll have that working in another day or two. And the other one, reputation, will probably deploy sometime later this week as well. And let's see if there's anything else. Those are the ones that come to mind right now. Like I said, a lot of the rest is just small optimizations. As we optimize one of the bigger ones, then we see the smaller ones behind them. Basically, big bottlenecks block the ability for us to see the smaller bottlenecks. So it's sort of an incremental process. Oh, and I guess one more thing we want to do is speed up HiveMind sync time. As you guys know, it's around 4 days right now, and we have several ideas for speeding that up. One is this actually going to be this get block API change made to Hive, because that's one of the things that's slowing it down right now. Which also leads to one more change to Hive we're probably going to do, which is to expand the API to be able to fetch multiple blocks at once rather than just one at a time. And then the other change we're going to do to Hive sync is probably related to the way we, when we're doing the initial full sync, we can basically effectively break out the operations that we insert into the database so that we do ones that don't interfere with each other in parallel more. So we should be able to get some speed up there too as well. So that's all the stuff that we've been doing, and we're looking at doing the next couple of days on Hive and HiveMind.
Yeah, okay. I guess that takes part of HiveMind as well. So you want to ship the get block, it would be like 1.24.7 now?
Yeah, well, we're going to tag one. I thought about tag. We made an important fix already. That's in the repo, which is the fix when we changed the get account history. We one of the changes made it impossible to get the very first operation in an account history, and that's because it turns out that there's two account history plugins, right? There's the old account history plugin, and there's the new RocksDB account history plugin, which is what most people use. But when I started digging into it, I found that the old account history plugin was indexed, it counted the first operation as operation 1, whereas the RocksDB one did it as 0. So if you apply the same, there's an assertion check to prevent the limit from the limit of how many you want to fetch and the start operation you want to fetch from. And if you use the same assertion, it didn't work very well because the different starting indicator 1 for the old one and 0 for the new one. So rather than just leave two separate operations of that, I actually went in and changed the old one, so the old one's now zero based too. I don't know that anybody uses it, but I know somebody used it because I believe Bittrex was using it, so it's certainly possible other people might use it too. So it's felt like something that needed to get fixed. So I fixed that, and now the assertion, and I modified the assertion so that it works properly for both of them. So now you can get the first operation again. So anybody's probably most of the API node operators should update to the latest head. Although we haven't tagged it yet because we want to get in this get block API fix as well, which like I said, is only another day or so, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that's good news, at least. So you haven't had any time to start the long-term work of like estimating.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I said, even for the next couple of days, I don't see us. I've still been thinking about it, of course, so we can talk about ideas. I don't have a problem with that.
So yeah, I guess that's it for Hive status as well. I guess in the future I'll just merge the 2 points because it makes sense. Until we actually have decent work. Work outside of you being done in HiveMind.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, do you still think that it's faster for you guys to do everything, or do you start to be open to like external contributions to HiveMind?
I would rather get the optimizations out of the way first, and I would rather get the test suite finished up, because if we don't have right now, we know things that can break things, but without a test suite, somebody doesn't know that without a full test suite, they don't know if they've broken something.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's hard enough even for us to do that. But if somebody wants to contribute right now, I mean, the easiest thing we could take contributions for, which of course no one ever likes to do, would be tests.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but I mean, still, I feel like I'm pretty sure some people would be willing to.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to contribute on the testing front, that would be, and it's kind of a necessary. I'm going to say that's basically a necessary requirement in order to contribute to HiveMind. You must know how to write tests, because you're going to have to write tests for anything you do. So if they need to learn how we generate tests, and that's kind of step one, I guess, in contributing to HiveMind work.
Yeah, I guess this goes into the documentation discussion, where it would be cool to have like your team do a how to contribute guide on how to write tests. And I guess HiveMind is not that complicated. It's not like HiveD where you need to actually know what you're doing. I mean, you do need to know what you're doing with HiveMind, but
yeah, for the tests are. I mean, one of our guys here has just learned how to write the test. He just looked at it, and it wasn't terribly difficult for him to do.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I still have PTSD from HiveD testing, so. But yeah, I'm asking because I feel like either me or someone else will probably take on the language feature soon enough.
Yeah, that would be great. So I'd say to start with the tests, and then branch out from there. And I don't see any problem if you messing with that.
Yeah, I feel like it's a low-hanging fruit. And it's also something that needs to be done quite quickly, because the feature will grow as we go, basically. Because at first, like, few posts will actually have the language tag, and as we go, front ends will be able to leverage it. So it's important to get it done quite soon.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Regarding documentation, it's actually not that bad, to be honest. I don't know how deep we want to go through that. But basically, I created a bunch of issues. Most of it is like we need to. I feel like the way the documentation is written is not correctly structured. Like everything is like hidden on under 2 layers. For instance, how to run a node, etc. I feel like it should be more thematic based, where you have one. If you want to run a node, do this. How to run a node, requirements. How to run a testnet if you're a developer, something like this. I feel like perhaps a role-based structure would be interesting. Like, I'm an exchange, here's everything you need to do. I'm a developer, this is all of the Python, JavaScript, etc. tests. I'm like a witness, here's your stuff.
I can see that. I think it's always good to have that. This is what I am. What do I want to know? What do I need to know? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just since you mentioned the testnet, I'll mention another thing we're probably planning on doing to Hive, which is basically unify that code so that we just have one build that we can use for both testnet and for and
Oh,
for mainnet.
that would that imply removing the tests pseudo token like we had
The what? I'm sorry. Oh,
the yeah
yeah.
TBD
Basically,
and
yeah, yeah. I think the basic idea you just use a different chain ID to create to when you want to do a
yeah,
test
I
net.
agree. I feel like I mean when testing for hard fork 25 and the reason why the recover of script actually failed was partly because of that because we
Yeah, because well, that's the problem, right? When you have different code bases that you're testing, you're not really testing the same thing, and that's never good.
yeah exactly and also the hard fork version is always like one step ahead. Like
Yep.
when you test half of 24, you're actually testing half of 25, which is always kind of odd. And it's a pain when you have to go from when you're testing the actual hard fork operation, which goes from one to the other. So yeah, definitely, that would be a great plus. Do you have an estimate for how long that would take?
No, I haven't talked to. I mean,
Oh yeah, it's an
we just
idea.
talked about it
Okay.
briefly. No, well, I mean, I don't think it's I mean, it's more than an idea. We'll do it, and I don't think it'll be difficult, but I don't have an
Yeah. Okay.
actual time estimate on it.
Okay. Cool.
But
Um,
yeah, just thinking about it logically, I don't see it's going to be that bad to do.
But then, yeah, I guess you'd keep the same things. Yeah, I feel like it's just removing a few if testnet basically
Yeah,
because
I think that's going to be the gist of it.
apart from the fixtures where you want to create the init miner and that's it, the rest of it is just like have the correct assets and that's it. I feel like
Yeah.
from the top of my head.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
yeah, I think that's right. That's right.
Yeah, okay. Regarding documentation, I feel like we I think I should just like make a big post and go over stuff because it's
Yeah,
like just
yeah,
something
it's
where
probably too much to just do here.
yeah
Yeah.
it's I'm looking at like the 20-ish issues that I created and I'm like yeah no way.
You're like, I don't want to cover 20 issues now. Yeah, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. So then there is like more on the future regarding the hard fork 25. Do you still feel like the governance changes should be done before the big changes, quote unquote, aka SMTs, smart
Yeah,
contracts, whatever?
I do. I think the governance changes because they're relatively straightforward should be the ones that we do first. Um, I guess the other issue is, of course, whether I mean, if do we need to do any big changes at the hard fork level? I mean, like a lot of the changes we made and all the changes we made in Hive D over the past couple of weeks, for instance, are none of them are hard fork changes. So we can do them when we have time to do them or when we need them. Um, so there's a relatively limited number of hard fork changes I think we'll need going forward, at least for a little bit. So the governance changes are certainly hard fork changes. If we do SMTs at the first layer, that's a hard fork change.
Mm.
The RC delegation, is a hard fork change. But beyond that, a lot of the stuff I think we want to do is more second layer changes. I mean, if we do a smart contract layer, smart contract system, which I'm very much in favor of, I think it should be a second layer one, not a first layer.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I've been thinking that for a while. That's not actually something new. I just haven't really talked about it much.
Yeah, okay, well, I
Um,
guess. Let's go for it then, I guess. It's a good segue.
So, yeah, smart contract layer comes down to just being it's a scripting engine ultimately it's a sandbox scripting engine is what it comes down to. And there's really no reason we can't just do that at the second layer, rely on the first layer to provide all their, our ordering constraints, all their governance, even our RC resource limitations. So basically we'd have to have a second layer of resource limitations in a smart contract system, which is primarily the CPU. So the first layer handles the bandwidth, networking type constraints. So that's just RC, that's Hive RC. But then you basically add a new constraint when you add a smart contract layer. Your memory CPU constraints. And so I think the primary one, in fact, probably most important is actually the CPU one. And so basically we'd have to have a second layer token to cover that expense. And my thought there is we can introduce that token and just do an airdrop on Hive for that token.
So how would the So the second layer would have a token that would represent like CPU time, pretty
That's
much.
right. Right. So yeah, so the second layer has to have a token it can work with, and it can't really do anything to Hive or Hive power. A second layer token has no power over a first layer token.
Yeah.
So you just create a second layer token that the smart engine can work with.
Smart engine. Uh, and okay, and so and then you just script things, and you'd have to spend the tokens to execute scripts. But how
That's
would?
right. That's right. The basically you'd be paying for your CPU usage.
But then how how would you actually? Okay, so then you need servers to run extra, basically the layer two
That's right.
to
There's
execute the
second
whole
layer
thing.
servers, just like a Hive mine, right? I mean, a Hive mine is the second layer server.
Yeah, yeah, I see.
So it's
Um,
effectively a server like that.
and then we could run that through custom JSON. Actually, we don't really need to have a new
That's right. That's
operation.
exactly right. Yeah, it would just probably we can either custom JSON or custom binary. Yeah, basically that's right.
I'm just wondering about how the actual verification would work because basically the engine would need to you need to do a layer 2 decentralization so that everything is like
Yes, that's right.
yeah
Yep.
that's the main thing basically
Yeah, and
and
that's relatively easy to do. I mean, first of all, you don't actually they don't believe it or not, you don't have to have a peer-to-peer layer at all for that, because we already got a peer-to-peer level at the first layer. So I think I read that the Hive engine guys were thinking about doing a peer-to-peer layer, but it's not strictly speaking even necessary. Basically, you just have to have a way that uh, you can validate the results across multiple servers. If the
yeah
servers are producing the same results, you're good to go. If you want to have some kind of way that the servers can verify their own operation against another server, you can, and that's where you can set up a peer-to-peer layer if you just want them to have them check themselves, so to speak. But there's no strict requirement to even do that.
yeah I'm just thinking out loud
Because basically all your forking and stuff is all handled by your first layer.
yeah true so then we would still be bound by the 3-second transactions, but we could go even faster if we want, assuming basically we could
Well,
include
the
sharding
processing
in
time
it.
is going to be your dominant factor, right, for most
Yeah,
smart contract layers. If we do want to have if you want to talk about smarter, faster blocks, there's also work we could do at Hive D level to actually speed up the blocks, uh,
yeah, that's
the block the block speed. And it is one of the ideas in the back of my mind. We wrote the peer-to-peer layer probably back in 2015 or maybe 2014, I guess 2014, 2013 actually.
oh wow.
Come to think of it, probably it was back in 2013. And we've never revisited that code since. And we didn't have a chance to finish optimizing it because they ran out of funds for it. So we basically got it working, and then funds basically ran out shortly thereafter. So it's never even been fully optimized. There's been little tweaks done to it by various people, including us afterwards, but really minor tweaks. So if we do want a faster block speed, that's certainly something we could do, I think. Up to the limit of, probably there's eventually a latency limit that we hit it around, probably around 1 second or so.
Yeah, 1 second would still be huge, to be honest.
Yeah. So that's certainly something that we could discuss in the future.
Yeah, I see.
I'd rather, it's not the first thing I want to attack, though, of course.
Yeah, I mean, right now we are still like neck deep in the optimization phase, anyways.
Yep.
But yeah, and you think that would enable complete Turing complete smart contracts?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, okay. So what shouldn't we just like? I feel like enabling Solidity in some way, like having a Solidity parser, would be one of the easiest way to like catch some of the
Yeah,
Hive.
there's several options there. I mean, there's the Solidity, there's the EOS one. There's a couple different ones we could look at. And the beauty of doing it on second layers, we don't have to have just one.
Yeah, true.
We can actually make multiple ones.
That would be cool.
Let them compete with each other.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm just like I'm throwing ideas out loud, but
No, it's good. It's a solid idea. Solidity idea.
oh, yeah, okay. Well, I guess that's what's cool. I'd be interested in seeing like I think since we have like a push for marketing, it would be interesting to put everything in a white paper and have that as like, because
Yes,
at
so
this
there's
point,
material for marketing, and I just, like I said, probably another week. I wish
yeah,
I
of course,
hoped I hoped that near the end of this week we were going to be there, but uh, yeah, we found some new things in the whole Hive D that we just weren't even aware of, those bugs that were even there. So, I mean, those things have been there for years. I couldn't believe it when I saw that those bugs that were there in the mutex locking, but.
yeah.
Uh,
So the whole thing where you're like, yeah, at one point, you could, if you could hack the chain, it would, you could earn billions, but nobody actually did, even though it was there.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
Of course. But yeah, okay. My biggest point would be it would be great if you could like write a white paper on that, because I feel like
Yeah, I mean, I can just write up. I mean, I can probably what more likely will happen is I'll just write up a bunch of the ideas as raw ideas, and someone can then massage that into something nice sounding.
yeah, because at this point, when we know we'll get there in 6 months to a year time, I guess the time to market is now.
Yes, absolutely. We should wait
Yeah,
till this stuff's done before we talk about it.
yeah, exactly.
And especially with this, what's nice about this stuff is we don't have to have it. So if
As a hard
all this
code.
stuff is done at a second layer, yes, that's right. So we can just roll it out as it's ready, and there's no hard deadlines that rush us or slow us down, either one,
Yeah, and plus
which is great.
as we grow, assuming we grow, but we'll grow, we can actually have multiple teams working on their own ideas, like layer 2 SMTs. And I guess if we have smart contracts, then SMTs kind of become useless because layer 1 tokens aren't.
There's definitely more questionable. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
because layer
I
1
mean,
tokens are.
I could still see arguments for them, but I think they're mostly negated by having a smart contract platform.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's pretty much everything for that week, I guess. I'll just get back to you on the documentation once I get a post out on like let's say my documentation vision, if you can call that, and also
It's something we
for my
need.
for my RC problems. But yeah, that's about it. Anything else from you, Guilty Parties, Jack Miller or Maddie Yari? I'll take that as a no.
Either that or they're still muted.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of expecting messages in the chat. But yeah, okay, cool. Well, see you in 2 weeks then.
Sounds good.
We'll
Okay, see you guys.
Bye.